class. No. He wouldn't even return the phone call to the guys last week. There's over 20-some people out of work.
We need.
Hey, Mike.
How we doing, Mel?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
He was at the Masters this past week. Yesterday. How do you drive a brand new Ferrari to the races and
Jumps on real quick and stays.
$1.5 million from Josh again this year? Now you can blame Josh's
Hey, Paul.
passing.
How you doing?
He died, but
Oh my God.
I'm glad you asked me, which I mean,
that's kind of something that hurts the sport.
Absolutely.
I haven't said that to anybody in town before, so.
I bet.
Awful quiet now.
We still have time to talk. Have we got?
We got a couple minutes. Hey, Brett, how are you, sir?
Facing the cootie.
I'm doing good. Yourself? Family all right? Really?
Hey, Connie, did your grandson get in?
Oh,
I saw a couple of cars in there I didn't recognize, so I thought maybe they got it. They're close though, huh?
I know that. Like I said, been there, done that one.
Yeah, no.
What's up, man? How's the attorney business?
Got a great yard there.
It's okay, you know? It's like any other business, you got customers and try to keep them happy.
Yeah? That's a
Try to. We got a good crew over there, that's the number one thing. We got a great staff. So that's what keeps it going.
Turn it back in.
That's where Greg Bud.
How are you guys? How's Matt?
Hey, Joe. He's doing great.
Is he good?
Well, we got that. You know, he's got the
Yeah,
and he's got court 16th down there.
really? Who's he using?
Hey, Joe.
He's made a couple calls down there.
That's what that's Newport News.
He's on Pete.
Doug overdug
I don't know when he's going to get down there to see it.
They disturbed
We're
this.
going down Wednesday to see it.
Just graded it back off.
It's a haul. It's a long haul.
Yeah, you know, fight for it. So it's 9 hours, we're gonna drive. We're
Yeah.
gonna spend some time down there. But
They've been there the whole time?
yeah, it sounds like she's not leaving.
Maybe they're just curious.
It's like,
Hey, Paul.
you guys ready?
Yep.
Next couple weeks I'll call you. Maybe we'll just pick
Call this April 11th, 2016 meeting of the Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission to order. Roll call, please.
Director Brian Messmore,
Present.
Chairman Mel Davis,
Here.
Vice Chairman Bob Rybold,
Here.
Secretary Tony Abbott,
Here.
Member Paul Seymour Sr.,
Present.
Member Dennis Hutchins,
Present.
Lawrenceburg School Board Member Pat Myers, absent, and City Attorney Del Welton.
Here.
I assume everybody's had a chance to read the minutes of the last meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve or amend.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the minutes of the March 14th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Announcements. The meeting will be conducted under Robert's Rules of Order. The floor, or the chair will recognize members from the floor. And there will be a motion and a second. Then we'll have discussion. Any questions or comments? Brian Messmore, LRC Annual Report.
Yeah, just included in the packets is the report of the Redevelopment Commission. This is pursuant to IC Code 36714-13. It's from the Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission to the Indiana Department of Local Government Finance. And just generally, it's information about activities within the TIF area for the previous year, activities and information regarding the Development Commission members for the previous year, expenditures made during the previous year, receipts or loan or grant of tax financing during the preceding year, and a brief overview of the meeting minutes from the previous year and motions that were made. So it's just a report that we're required to do by law, and I appreciate Kelly running that down, and Tyler's gang over there across the way, Susan, Brittany, and Diane, for getting all this information together for us. No action necessary. It's been filed, or it's on file for them.
Anybody have any question?
I have a question. And when I read the report in the December expenditures, didn't they adjust from 925 to 875 to 950, the final price for the plaza? Or am I remembering from?
Well, I know you're right. I did see in December it says the purchase price for 875. There, I don't know. We can check into that.
If it is, can we correct it? Is all I'm asking.
Yeah, Kelly, we can track that down tomorrow.
Any other questions?
No.
Financial report?
As of April 4th, 2016, the balance for redevelopment is $2,383,790.99.
Any questions?
Yes, I have one of them here. On the redevelopment claims, I guess I'll bring this up under the financial report. There's one here for the sign store for $2,409.06. Mr. Seaman, you want to explain this?
I think that needs to be rejected, and the reason why is when I believe they're called the Downtown Action Agenda Committee was formed, partnership.
Yeah.
And I'm on it. We put this program together to try to get some blade signs on the street. And Mel's on the committee also, I believe.
Right.
Or familiar with it. Well, what's happened here is there's a few things wrong with this invoice. For one thing, the way the program was set up, it was supposed to be that the owners of the building or the people in it, whoever applied for the sign, were going to get the bids, get it installed, inspected, permits all approved, paid for to the sign company, and then bring receipts in and be reimbursed 50%. It is not a full refund thing, it is only 50%. Well, what's wrong with this invoice is that it's for one thing, it's made out to the sign store, and I have already paid them in full, and there's a receipt that Tony has seen stating that. The other thing, it is in the full amount, and it should only be for 50%. So something's went wrong. We need to go back to Mr. Krantz.
Who should we get the invoice from for it to be paid half? Do we get an invoice from you? How do you want us to do that?
Well, if you've got that invoice showing that I have paid and receipt paid in full from one of the sign companies, then you'll know what that was, and then 50% of that would be all you would be doing.
But for the books, we're going to have maybe an invoice from the advisory group.
Should be from committee.
Yeah, from the committee.
Okay.
If we can get an invoice from them for half the amount of that.
Okay. If you would write that.
But who do you make the check out to?
Isn't Tom, your chairman on that committee?
Tom.
I'm trying to think who the
Office Downtown Partnership.
I think he was the chairman.
And Mr. Krantz is taking care of it, and I've been talking to him a lot. He's obviously confused on it,
Right.
so either me or Brian.
We'll take care of it.
I can go
appreciate you
talk
catching
to
it.
him just to make sure.
I'm glad you caught it.
But Tony caught it a little bit ago. I agree with him 100%. And the big thing is I just want to get started to the point to where everybody knows the process. And so I don't mind you turning it down at all. We'll go back and get it right and get it made to where it's supposed to be. That way everybody does it the same way.
All right.
Any other questions?
Well, we'll just have to
figure out the procedure how to get you the money.
Well,
Can you take care of that, Brian, and work with her? The best, I mean, the way it should be filled out.
That'd be fine. Okay.
Thanks, Paul. New business, Brian Mesler, Land Consultants invoice.
Okay, thank you. In November of 2015, the Redevelopment Commission motioned and approved $3,000 to be paid for by the Redevelopment Commission for a survey on 3 Mile Ridge. The original estimate was $3,000, that's what they agreed to. The current invoice is for $4,500. So what we're asking for tonight is for discussion, and I'll ask Mr. Clark to provide some background information on this, and then we'll need to vote to approve or disapprove the additional $1,500.
I think there was just a slight communication issue with what the actual scope of work detailed out was going to be versus the perceived. I think it was a little more detailed than what the residents from 3 Mile Ridge, I mean, they are lay people, and I think there were just a few details that were not, I don't know if they were omitted or just not elaborated on required information that we have to have on the, both the dedication, right-of-way dedication plat, and also the easements that need to be acquired and obtained for utilities on that property. I think it's just a difference in perceived and actual scope.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'm sure there's a lot of people in this room in the same category, but I've been in many meetings with 3 Mile Ridge and the whole deal, and I know Mike had addressed this earlier, and it's a fairly large project, and I don't see this personally as a member of this commission that we would have a problem with paying this. There was a lot of work that went on up there, and a lot of study and everything else, and to get this thing straight. And we all made, and all of us, a lot of us at this table and in this room, made promises to them, and I think we have to just get this over with and pay our bills. It's not certainly an abusive amount of money by any means. It's just over a little bit, right? $1,500 or less.
Yeah, I think the total, and I'm not going to get involved on who owes it, but the
No, I'm not asking for that.
dollar amount is very justifiable.
Well, I just think we should approve it and make a motion to approve it. I'm just giving my opinion on it because I remember what took place in the last year and a half or so on this issue. So.
well, there's nothing wrong going ahead and paying this. I mean, we want to get it done because we want to get this done. But they went to this company and asked them how much this would be, and they told them how much it would be.
You're right,
Now,
Tony,
wait
but
a minute, Mike.
they
The next
told-
time, I would rather them ask us, do you guys want to pay this much more? Don't do it and then bill us for it.
Yeah, it's the engineering firm that did it was going by what their client described to them on what they needed. This was a little bit more of a difficult project because it's a hybrid. There is no
It's a problem.
There is no set standard for this. So I can understand where, if you tell a surveyor what you think you need, but you just miss a couple items, which you could do very easily, versus me telling them exactly what I need. I think that's where the difference is. It's just.
But you see what I mean by, we agreed for 3,000, now we're getting 4,500, so we should have been asked before the work was done in order to say, yeah, we'll go ahead and do it.
I compare that to calling a body shop and saying, well, I think I need a fender and a bumper. Well, this is how what's going to cost, and then you show up. Well, wait a second. You got all this other work done. Why would somebody give them an estimate and not see it?
Well, you can only go by the information given to you, Bob. And I think that's what, I've had discussions with the engineering surveying firm, and I think that's what it was. They went with what, the people told them they needed. There again, it's a hybrid. It's not a standard routine survey to order.
Mr. Chairman, again, Mike, did you look at the work, did they do the extra work? And was the extra work needed, in your opinion, to get done, to finish this
Basically,
project?
it was based on requirements from me.
There you go. Okay, I still don't have a problem with it.
Any other comments? I'll accept a motion to amend that claim to add $1,500 to it. Is that right?
If, I don't remember the numbers.
Whatever the balance due is, I'll make the motion to correct the balance due on that, if it doesn't exceed what we're in front of us here tonight, okay?
$4,500.
Yeah, $4,500.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. Brian Messmore, new business proposal.
Yeah, I'm going to step up to the podium. That was easy. I get your point, though.
Okay.
Try it from here. All right, thank you. Hey, on behalf of Mayor Malone and myself, I would like to introduce tonight Mr. John Stenger, who is the president and owner of Premier Energy Services. And before I bring him up, he is here, I see him back there, I just wanted to mention a few things. That the mayor and I have been working with John for several months. We believe that we have reached a point in time where it is appropriate to bring a proposal to the Redevelopment Commission. John will be providing a brief overview of his company and proposal, and can answer any specific questions that you have at that time. Just wanted to also note that in addition to Premier Energy, there will be another business relocating to the same site, but this business at this time would prefer not to be named. The mayor and I actually were both excited, really, and in favor of this proposal. We believe that the number of jobs, the types of jobs, the salary and benefits associated with these jobs and this company will be good for our community. Tonight, specifically, the mayor and I are asking the Redevelopment Commission to consider and support this proposal and send it to council with an approval. And again, this is similar to the last proposal, that the funds would only be allocated or released upon receipt of the certificate of occupancy and all requirements met. So with that, I'd like to bring Mr. Stenger up to the podium.
Thank you, Brian. I want to thank the committee for giving me the chance to come up here and talk to you tonight. Premier Energy Services is a natural gas construction and maintenance company. We've been in business since October 2002. We are currently headquartered in Fairfield, Ohio, and our customer base includes a lot of the major utilities in the region: Duke Energy, Vectren Corp., Louisville Gas and Electric, Columbia Gas of Ohio, and we also operate Sycamore Gas Company. So I think I've had an opportunity to meet a few of you, and I've had an opportunity to work with these gentlemen over here for the last several years, and I appreciate the opportunity to hopefully move our business here to Lawrenceburg. I am a Dearborn County native, grew up in a little town called Lawrenceville that I think all of you are probably familiar with. My parents still live out there, and a lot of my family lives there. If you're wondering, my brother Jeff was a county surveyor a few terms ago and still does a lot of surveying work here in the county. What we're hoping to do is we actually have an offer that's been accepted to buy a parcel over on Industrial Drive. It's a 22,500 square foot warehouse, and what we're asking for tonight is some assistance in helping us improve that building. We also need to improve the property. The entrance to the property needs to be improved because we're going to have a lot of trucks coming in and out, and we just need to have better access to the property. Also, believe in the past, the city's granted a 100-year or 99-year lease to a portion of that property, and the current owner has that lease and has the right to assign that easement or lease to another owner, but we would like to ask that the city just grant their permission again to make sure that we don't have any problems getting in and out of the parcel. To tell you a little bit about what we hope to do for the community, I have a meeting tomorrow night with Mark Graver at Ivy Tech. We want to create I've called it a couple different things. It's really a utility technician program or an underground utility technician program geared specifically at this point to working in the natural gas industry. But I've talked about that in the past here, but since then I've found out that Ivy Tech actually does this in northwest Indiana now, so I don't think it'll be a big deal to get it started here in southeastern Indiana. But I know from my perspective, I was talking to Brian and Kelly a little bit about the number of jobs we think we could bring in. The first 3 years, I don't think we'd have any problem hiring 15 people each of those first 3 years to work at our company. I'm hoping if we go through the effort of creating this, that we might get started with hiring those folks ourselves. I have a feeling some of my competitors might want them as well, but there's no reason why these folks couldn't work in other, whether it's water, sewer, we all do underground work, but we are going to gear this program specifically toward natural gas, so might take a little bit to get it set up that way. The types of jobs that these are, they're union represented positions. We currently have agreements with operating engineers, plumbers and pipe fitters, and the majority of our workers are laborers union. These jobs with benefits pay about $32 an hour. Union scale right now in the Ohio, and I got to be honest, I haven't spoken with the laborers here in Lawrenceburg yet, but I would assume their pay is similar, but scale is $21.75 an hour, and their benefits are around a 10 and a quarter an hour rate. So they're pretty good jobs, and we pay all of that, those benefits plus the wage scale. Let's see if I missed anything. I do have a little write-up that I've given to Brian and Kelly that talks about, our natural gas technician job, and hopefully after tomorrow night, Mark and I will be on our way toward trying to get that started and hopefully get some folks in here. But, we'd like to see, I grew up on a dairy farm. I'd like to see a lot of the local folks here have an opportunity to work for us. A lot of our workforce right now comes out of Adams County, Ohio, a few out of Hamilton County, but a few out of Butler, but most of them are out of that Adams County area, which amazingly enough, is about the same distance here as it is to our Fairfield office, and the traffic's a lot better coming this direction. So we don't think we'll have any problem getting those folks to come over here, but from a long-term basis, we'd like to see local young folks hired. Even, I think Mike and Mario can probably tell you that this is somewhat a young man's game. Once you get to our age, it's a little harder to be out digging with a shovel and getting down in the ditch, but, but I think somebody that's 25, 30 years old that's looking for a career change, I think we'd give them a pretty good opportunity for a decent job they could raise their family. With that, I've been talking a little bit. I'll be quiet and see if there's any questions from the group.
Any questions?
Not for me.
Well, the first one I got is about this 99-year lease. This is the first time I've ever heard about a easement lease.
That was the easement, I think Mike's here.
Yeah.
Was that 30 foot across there, Mike?
The first section where you turn into my property is owned by the city of Lawrenceburg, which it's too small for the city to ever do anything. So I approached the city about buying it, but they said, well, we'd rather just give you a 99-year lease for $1
And you'll transfer that with the,
Yeah, it's transferable, and he just wants to make sure that there's no issues, but it does say it's transferable.
well, then I'll,
Is there some utilities running through there, Mike?
I think there is some utilities, yep.
I'll refer that to Dell then. How should we do that, Dell? Should we transfer it or just give him the new lease to him?
I'd have to take a look at it, but typically that would just run with the land. It would be a recorded easement, so we probably don't have to do anything. But I'll take a look at it.
Because when it goes, our original purchase goes back to, who used to be, Horning. He wanted to keep the trees up in the corners, the whole purpose, that they wouldn't sell us that from the get-go.
John, my only issue at this point is that you're comfortable with that transition from them, that it'll be in your documents.
I am.
And then you'll
I am.
expect the city to support that, but you'll be fine with Mr. Lawrence.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe tell what your employment count is today.
That's what's my next question. You're going to hire 15 maybe in the future, but what do you employ now?
There'll be about 150 jobs
Coming
employed
to Lawrenceburg.
with the project. Hey, John, how does that, I know the labor's union, the pool for like Kentucky and Ohio are out of Ohio. Indiana's got their own. How does that affect the union, like the plumbers and the pipe fitters? Is that, the work down here, I would think, is based out of Indiana, right? Or is that transferable? Yeah, it is, but you gotta be honest, there's been a lot of work in the past done out of those counties in Ohio and Kentucky that have worked over here, but we'd like, if we're gonna hire people from here, and they happen to go work, say they go work in Cincinnati or they work in Dayton, then they would just pay their dues to that local, but the benefits would all come back to their home local. And so I don't foresee that being an issue. We deal with it whenever we go into new areas. So you say that from Adams County to Fairfield, from Adams County to here is the same distance? Time-wise, it is. Yeah, it might be a little longer to here, but just going around 275 on the south side and not fighting that Indian Hill, Loveland area. Right. They have a lot of traffic backups over there. And then 75 intersection too.
John, speaking of staying with this thought for a minute with Fairfield, do you keep the Fairfield or you shut it down?
No, we're going to shut it down.
So you're confident that your employees will work with you, so this will be your base?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this will be our headquarters.
Okay. And you're going to make any effort, I know you said in your presentation that you'd like to see young people from here get a job and, go to work, so that means you're really leaning toward trying to use Dearborn County and Lawrenceburg people, and,
Yes, absolutely.
that would be exciting for us, right?
Yeah, and, what we've looked at, like just recently, this year, we've probably taken 10 to 15 people out of
out of the Ohio Laborers Hall.
Uh-huh.
And in the future, we want to, we're probably still going to have to take a couple, but we'd like to take the
As your
majority.
workforce depletes, you could refill them with our local guys, so
Exactly.
that would be nice too.
And I got to be honest, our workforce turns over so much every year. We keep a pretty good number of the same people, but it would be pretty easy for us to, if we can find 15 people a year over here, I'd sure like to put them into our workforce and keep them there. We're hoping for a lot more loyalty if we, if we're headquartered here, they're from here, we think it's going to be a lot better situation for both of us.
John, how far do you travel, like from Lawrenceburg? How far do you go? Do you, like a radius?
Right now, we're anywhere from Springfield, Ohio, and Dayton, down to Louisville, and around Cincinnati, greater Cincinnati area. But in the past, we've gone as far as Akron, Ohio, and Bowling Green, Kentucky. So it would be in a 3 or 4 hour radius. So some of these folks, quite honestly, might travel during the week and come back on weekends, but
We were talking, Mr. Seymour and I were talking before the meeting about you, and Paul asked me to think about something I thought was pretty good, talking about high school kids, and, that junior, senior
Yeah.
kind of thing. I mean, is there any program that Ivy Tech or the school has that, so that somehow the high schools because they don't teach it anymore. It's not mandatory anymore like it was when I went to school. But I mean, is there any way that Ivy Tech can work that out with the education department to where it's not going to come back and these people can get funding for education? Do you know how that's going to work, or do you still need to meet with Mark and find out all those details?
I have to work all those details.
Well, I know
out
that
with
they have the
Mark.
BV thing where they're sending the guys for welding and all that kind of stuff, but my understanding is that they're going to do a lot more technical stuff here when they get this extension done.
Yeah, and even, we're going to have a training lab in our facility.
Okay.
So whether, we offer that up for them to use, or they build another one, it's not, if you know what you're doing, it's not that hard to build a training lab. So, but yeah, in Kentucky, the Kentucky Gas Association actually helped start a school down in Somerset, Kentucky, where they do have high school students going through a program. And I've tried to hire a couple of those kids, but it's just too far for them to relocate.
Maybe you could look at our education system.
It does seem like everything's offered hundreds of miles away, but around here.
Everywhere else.
I mean, it just seems like it's like that. If you would get the funds, how long are you looking? What's your time frame?
Well, we have a deal with Mr. Lawrence to purchase the building, and all we basically need to do is, we needed to figure out whether this was going to happen, and then we're pretty much ready to go. We're talking to one of the local banks about financing the deal, and we just need to get that done, and we just need to get offices built in the locations, and we're ready to go. We'd like to be in this summer.
But you don't, as far as the financing with the banks, that's,
No, it's not
an
going to be,
issue. Okay.
it shouldn't be a problem. I've gotten preliminary approval, and, we actually have a line of credit that I'm not sure my current bank really wants me to use for this purpose, but, if we had to, we could, so.
Well, can I ask Brian a quick question? Sure. During your presentation, did you give us an actual figure? Did I not hear that?
No, I didn't give it. I was waiting until later so that we could
I think
have
maybe it's appropriate at that
I
time.
have a
It
question, John.
comes up pretty quick anyway.
Your training educational program, is that certified by the union also? Is the union accepting of that as an apprenticeship program?
I don't know, we haven't pursued that, but our concern is more, we're certified to provide operator qualification training for our customers through 2 different programs. So that's what we're more concerned about. but-
Customers require certification also.
Right.
Okay.
Right, and each one of them has its own program. Yeah, it'd be nice if they all accepted the same one, but
Good luck.
yeah, we haven't gotten there yet.
Good luck. Any other questions?
Yeah, but Brian, what's the impact on 150 people on like payroll tax and all that? Do you have a number on what they would be bringing to the county, whether some of them might move here, you just never know, you know?
I don't have
Okay.
a figure on that. Just kind of left it at the 150 employee figure and assumed that payroll was here, and of course, I didn't dig any deeper.
Okay.
Well, I think along those lines, the property taxes are gonna go up. We're gonna have to, we're building offices on our end. There's gonna be offices built on the other end for the other tenant. We're gonna improve the parking lot. We're gonna improve the entrance. I think you're gonna see a rise in that.
Will you do the offices yourselves, or will that be bidded out to one of the local companies?
Well, we're gonna try to bid it out.
Okay.
There's probably some folks around here that we need to talk to about that.
You think?
Now it's numbers time. How much are you putting into the project and how much do you need from us?
Brian, you want me to do this, or did you want to?
Either way, through our discussion, we settled at his proposal, and the one that we could support was $400,000, and that number was derived primarily for relocation expenses, things directly associated with relocation, and some of the property improvements. And that's how we got to that number. I believe the total project cost was 1.6.
Yeah, 1.6 million is what we expect the project to cost.
That's the total project cost.
It's completed.
That's completed.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I have another comment and question at the same time. We just did something similar where we gave a lot of money to someone that came into an area that has been neglected for many years, and it's abandoned. And one of the things that I was comfortable with on that deal was that we're going to have that building here for a long time, because one of the things he talked about was, and he needed the money for financing, and I don't think he could have got it done according to what our redevelopment guys led us to believe. They couldn't get it done without the financing, and that played a factor in my mind. But I think even more was that they can't pick that plaza up and move it. No more can you pick up your building and move it. However, the difference is that plaza will always have stores in it. And he went into a lot of detail about the leasing time periods on those. And some of them are already leased at long periods, and the new ones will be tied to long period leases as well. So my question to you is, and I think it's a fair one, if we were to give you, a grant for $400,000, and that's the number, correct?
That's correct.
How long would you commit to being here? I mean, I'd feel pretty foolish in a year or so if I saw the building was for sale because you guys were going to move someplace back in the Fairmont or Kentucky or someplace else. And I know you're local, and I know I heard all that, but I still think it's a fair question that I mean, I've heard this redevelopment committee over the years worry about commitments, and I think we have to look at something. I mean, to make me happy with this, we have to look at some sort of a commitment that you're not going to, if you do sell it, that we can work out something that you pay us back a proportion based on a certain amount of years. I don't think we have to be unreasonable, but that's my thinking on it. Because $400,000 is a lot of money.
It is.
And it's a big part of our budget. We didn't get any annual budget this year carried over, any new budget figures put into the budget for this year, so we're using monies that have come in through other circumstances, and we've spent a lot of money. So I'm just concerned that we, we watch the city funds properly. I know a lot of people like to call out the people's funds, and it is, but it's still the city funds. And I'd like you to at least address those concerns. I may be the only one here that has them, I don't know, but I do have them.
Looking around for a second. Oh. I think the second tenant, for sure, is, I can pretty well guarantee isn't going anywhere in the near future. I don't know exactly how to answer for his part of the...
Are they subletting from you, or are they leasing from you?
No, we're actually going to buy it. What we're talking about is buying it jointly.
Okay, that makes a difference.
And we may eventually figure out a way to split the building in half, but it would hold up our project if we tried to do that at the beginning. So we've been discussing buying it as buying one LLC with 50% each company. So I don't see any issue with the second tenant moving. I wish I could tell you exactly what my company, I mean, we've been doing this 13 and a half years. I've come here in the past, we talked, I don't know, 5 years ago about moving over here, and we just never figured it out. Part of it was because I don't think we had the right building to go to. We were going to build brand new, and it was just too
I
expensive.
can see where it's a good location for you
Yeah,
guys.
it was just too expensive to do it from a brand new perspective. I don't know, Brian, I think we could probably come up with something. Does 3 years make you comfortable, or are you looking for something more?
A couple of years, I mean, 2-3 years would be, I'm very appreciative to the jobs and everything that's been presented so far and the questions that have been asked. But I still think, because it's a building that can be turned back over, I think I should ask the question.
Okay, well, that's fair.
And John, I'm excited that you're coming here. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not here to put you on a hot seat or anything like that, but still, for the fourth time, I'll say it again, $400,000 is...
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
It is.
So,
John, the other company, and I know you won't, is that a separate entity? Has to do with your business?
It's a separate entity,
Okay.
yes. Yes. And, I mean, it's somewhat of a related business, but it's a completely separate entity.
So if they would hire, it wouldn't include your jobs that you're looking at? Okay.
Yeah, they have pretty much an existing workforce.
Okay.
well, let me put it a different way. Do you have an equity position in the other company?
In the other company, I do not.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
How about something like maybe if you're here for the first 2 years, you sell it, you pay us back the $400,000. Third year, you make it $300,000 if you sell it. Fourth year, $200,000. Fifth year, $100,000. It'd be a 5-year guarantee, but it goes down after the third year. Would that be acceptable?
Here. So basically, I just have to stay in business for 5 years. I guess it's just,
But it's going down after the third. Well, at the third year, it goes down to $300,000. First 2 years, you pay $400,000 if you sell it or, move out of it. The third year, you pay back $300,000 if you sold it. Fourth year, $200,000. Fifth year, $100,000. Then it's all yours.
at the end of the 5 years, everything's good.
It's good. We've gotten our money out from land tax and everything else, so that's why it's agreeable to me to let it go down like that.
I was going to suggest 5 years, but you had, no, I think that's, I wouldn't have any problem supporting that at all.
I mean,
it's fair,
it'd just
it's
be fair to
reasonable.
let it go down because we are collecting money from them through, land tax and everything else.
But I think there's an exception to everything. If you decide to pop up and sell it, that's different. If something else would happen, that would come into play, which I can't see it being natural energy.
And I would say if you want to put something in there where if he decides to sell the business, but the buyer's doing the same business, then they would keep that, as long as that stays there. If the new buyer would accept the new.
Yeah, I guess that's the only thing I'm concerned about, is if I do decide to sell or merge with somebody, that just because we're still there would satisfy, if we're still using it as our headquarters and using it to operate out of, if that would still satify what you're talking about.
That'd satisfy me.
Oh, and I think that if you would sell the merge and stay there,
Yeah.
I mean, if you pick up and move everything from the toilet and everything else, that's different, but if you merge and all the jobs are still there and they're bringing in the tax base,
That's fine with me.
that's fine.
John, if we can put you on the hot seat for a second, just put you off. Tony, could you explain to me again the scenario that you just outlined? All right. I'm a little confused with it.
First year, if he sold out, picked up and moved out, like you said, with the toilet and all gone, he'd have to pay us back our $400,000.
Okay.
Second year, the same deal. The third year, it would be $300,000. Fourth year, he'd have to pay us back $200,000, and the fifth year, down to $100,000. Because we're collecting money from him through those years. So that's why I think it's fair to knock down part of the grant. But only we get a 5-year guarantee instead of a 3.
Okay. And the only question I would ask is, we have an agreement between the two companies, we're bringing this as one project, but if we could at some point allocate, between half of the building and the other half on those numbers.
So once it's announced,
Yeah.
split it down the middle.
Yes.
You comfortable with that?
It's not going to be split down the middle. We
Well-
have because there's a different number of jobs
Sure.
from the two entities.
I'm fine with anything like that.
Okay,
Just-
but I mean, the total would still be,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like some discussion amongst the members, if you don't mind. Do we think does it have to be a 5-year commitment? I personally, and unfortunately, you have to hear the discussion because we're in a public meeting, and
Yeah,
it
that's
has to
okay.
be this way now. I don't know that I would demand or request a 5-year period. I really don't. I really don't. I think 3 years is fine. It's a fair business practice. They're going to bring a lot of jobs and a lot of revenue. I'm more concerned about protecting the $400,000 and if you're here 3 years, it's protected. I mean, we're going to have jobs and everything. I mean, it'll be so far superior to anything that's been done with that type of investment for $400,000 to this date. We'll all be very happy with it if you sell the building. I guess what I'm asking is to work out, are you okay with 5 years or with 3 years? I mean, I'm asking.
well, 3 just makes me more comfortable, but,
Because you're going to put 1.7.
1.6 is the total.
Yeah, it's a lot of money,
And,
And I realize a lot of that's purchase price, but still, you guys are going to do a lot of internal work, I'm sure yourselves, but I would like to see it come down to 3 years to the members. I really would. If anybody agrees with me or not, I'd like to hear from you.
I think what
Comments?
kind of excites me is you hear a lot of times that these union jobs are everywhere else but here. You're talking 15, maybe 20 people. And then there's not a reason to say, well, now here comes another $8 an hour job. I mean, I know you know the owners of JTM, and I had a conversation with him today about it. And, he sang your praises, So I just think it would be exciting for back there, and God knows what else could possibly go back there once you see it. Because that is a area, if you don't go back there, like I go back to Mike's, you mitt not know it even exists back here.
it's pretty
So-
quiet.
But,
I'd like the other members to hear if we could do 3 years instead of 5.
I'm good for 3 or 5. I don't want to hold it up at all. I'm going to move this on.
Paul likes 3, and I think we should go to 3 years. Tony,
3 years full amount? Or are you degrading it?
I don't get to vote.
Yeah, I said 3 years the full amount?
how do you feel about that, John? Could you do 3 years full amount?
What if we knocked 100 off for the third year?
How about it, guys? Can we do 3-3?
Yes.
I can do a 3-3.
Oh, I'm with you.
Okay. Wait a minute.
Sounds like we got a poker game.
Are we knocking off 100 on the third year or 100? No, if he sells it within 3 years, he pays 300,000 back to redevelopment.
Or if I move out. If we move
Right,
out.
same thing. We'll tie it up the same way.
Well,
Okay.
moving out,
I'd at least keep it first year 400,000.
if John,
Yeah, I'm
if
fine
John
with
Stinger moves
You
out.
okay with that?
Yeah,
If Matt makes Tony happy, I'm fine with that. So if he moves out in
me
the
get this
first year,
straight.
Matt, it's
Yeah,
400,000.
Right.
If he moves out in the next, within 3 years, he pays back 300,000.
If John Stinger moves out, that doesn't count, because if somebody buys it that,
Well, it's a whole different, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm 100%.
so you can move,
Yeah,
but
oh,
your
yeah.
company has to stay.
Right. I'm good with that.
Yeah, you can go anywhere you want, John.
Brian, are you keeping
Thank
up with this?
Back to
I was just getting ready to ask Kelly, you got this?
I got it.
Okay.
Sure?
Well, we didn't have a private meeting with this, so we have to work out the, and nobody's upset, I hope, or anything, but we have to work
No,
out.
you guys are great.
particulars, so.
I'm fine.
Okay.
I'd
I'll
rather
entertain
we
a
all-
motion to approve,
I'll make a motion to send it to city council with favorable recommendation,
with the 3-year.
the 3-year
Guarantee.
stipulation.
Second it.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Any opposed? Congratulations.
thank you for joining
John.
our,
Appreciate it.
downtown.
And please feel free, if anybody has questions, to call me at a number.
Oh, we will.
Hey, guys.
Thank you, John.
I'm sorry, could we just clarify, Tony, and if we could, Dennis, I guess, so it's 3 years. If he moves out the first year, he pays back 400. If he moves out the second year, the company pay back 300, and third year 300.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that, Dennis, is that?
John, are you okay with that? 433? Okay.
And Paul, you're okay? That's what you understand?
yes.
And Bob, too, that was your understanding?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm okay, too.
Program applies to the company. He leaves, sells it to somebody else,
It stays in.
the job remains.
Right.
Right.
Right. That's correct. Structure, Brian Messmore, Structure Point Master Service Agreement for Riverfront Development. Brian,
Thank you.
if don't mind,
Oh, you want me to come up there again?
please.
Thank you, Mr.
You just like hearing your voice. It's like American Idol.
That's better. We'll get one of those little steps for him, Mel. Yeah.
By the way, that last discussion was awesome. You know, it's a struggle sometimes, you know, to work through these deals and try to make sure everybody understands what we're trying to accomplish and make sure we're doing the right things for everybody and
We got Dennis.
yeah, I know, but I mean, there's anxiety, anticipation, you know, how will this go? You know, I feel good about it, and, you know, I just really appreciate your sincerity, your honest questions, and putting me on the spot. That's all good. I really appreciate that.
Well, you make the big dollars.
Yeah.
Getting ready to be put on the spot again?
Yeah, probably.
Here she comes.
That's okay. You gotta get started somewhere.
Thank you for your work on that project as
I'd
well.
like to thank you and the mayor for your efforts, and Mr. Stenger, thank you for considering Lawrenceburg.
Okay, we'll see how I do on this. Okay, this is a master service agreement between the Redevelopment Commission, actually to be between the Board of Works.
Right. I've seen that.
Yeah, and Structure Point. What the mayor is asking the Redevelopment Commission to do is fund this agreement between Lawrenceburg Board of Works and Structure Point. The project is defined as the Lawrenceburg Riverfront Development Plan and associated transportation recommendations. And this is basically a master plan dealing with the wet side of the levee, the length of the river, and here in downtown Lawrenceburg. And, you know, creeping over the levee a little bit with if there's some transportation, roadway, directional issues that may result in terms of mobility and movement and getting people downtown and out of town. That agreement is for an amount of $95,000. It is broken into 3 phases. After each phase, we'll have an opportunity to review where we're at and, and make sure that we agree with the progress being made. The first phase is a plan and an organization phase. We will, in that particular phase, bring together a group of people, steering committee, a rather large steering committee with members of lots of different, schools, Ivy Tech, citizens. We would go through, we would have public meetings and basically, have a picture of the riverfront on the wall and start gathering everybody's input and ideas as what they would like to see what's possible along the riverfront. First of all, we get the organization together, and then we take it to that phase. And out of that phase, what the end product would be a conceptual plan. Probably take 4 to 6 months to get done. And again, what the mayor's asking, what we're asking is that the Redevelopment Commission fund the agreement between the Board of Works and Structure Point.
I have no problem with the Board of Works funding this, but I do have a problem with the 95. Are you asking for a lump sum amount of money right away?
We're asking to approve $95,000 to be paid at the end of phase 1, it would be $10,000. At the end of phase 2, it would be $40,000, and at the end of phase 3, it would be $45,000.
Okay.
So we have some increments to stop and do some double checking, but.
Well, can we ask him a couple of questions?
Yeah, do you all have any questions?
Yeah.
Brian?
A few. When you came up, you were talking about from the clock to the boat.
I'm talking about from the boat all the way to the end of to the trailhead down there by the boat, what do we call that? Yeah, the boat club, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, does this include the I&M property? I mean, would this help out anyway for the Port Authority?
No, I don't think so. It's probably not bad timing if that is announced.
I thought in here it said down to the I&M property. So.
Well, that's almost to the boat.
Well, that starts at the boat club.
I&M property.
Okay.
The boat club is on the, part of their property is on there.
Yeah.
No, city owns that property.
Roughly the trailhead down there, straight down to the
Just to the
river, yeah.
trailhead, so it wouldn't have anything to do with the Port Authority then?
It wouldn't have anything to do with the Port Authority, not that I'm aware of. There may be some,
All right.
they may be creeping up this way a little bit.
I got another question, unless Dennis, you were next.
Well, no, I heard Mike talk. I thought there was, I know the city has a lease with the boat club down there, but I thought there was a piece of that was granted over from I&M. Nothing?
We have no lease, actually.
Okay.
They gotta use the road.
There's
I just remember wrong, okay. But it's pretty close to the end of that property line now.
just past that,
Okay.
in that vicinity.
All right.
where the-
Maybe I was thinking about some sewer work that was done a year or two ago.
But it's easy to see the boundaries. It's the bridge that
Yeah.
goes I&M. If you
Yeah, I'm thinking about some sewer work that you guys did down there.
Back to the
Brian, I
I
have,
got a question about the Board of Works. The redevelopment's paying for this, and it's gonna be a redevelopment project. Why is the Board of Works doing it? Why is the agreement not between redevelopment?
Well, Dell, would you like to address that at this time?
Yeah, I think that's a good question and a fair question. It's one that has come up a couple times. The redevelopment legally is a separate entity. It's not included in the legislative branch, and it's not subject on its own to approval by the Board of Works or by City Council, by law, by state law. Our city, the city of Lawrenceburg, passed an ordinance some time ago that created an extra step in that mandated that any spending or action, contracts or spending by redevelopment would have to be approved by Board of Works and City Council. Obviously, no one here was around or part of the city when that ordinance was created, and I wasn't city attorney. The best that I've been able to come with through discussions was that Mayor Cunningham wanted that ordinance to be passed so that, as a courtesy to City Council. My opinion is that that's not lawful, that is not it's not within Indiana law to have that subject to approval, to have your action as a redevelopment commission subject to a secondary approval. And that's kind of what it creates. It creates a step where City Council essentially has to approve what you guys do as redevelopment. And so that's something that we're working on internally, that I think will have at least a proposed resolution. It is an ordinance, so it was passed and it has been the law for some time, but that's my impression and my opinion is that that's a step that shouldn't exist. Now, I think that because it's an existing ordinance, we'll have to deal with that with council to either modify or repeal that ordinance.
Well, I can understand why they would have done that, because like right now, if this is between the Board of Works, then this project can get up into the millions of dollars, and redevelopment will be paying for it, but we won't have no say over it, because the Board of Works will be the ones proving to pay the bills.
Well, right, and your question is, why is that necessary? And I think that the short answer and the quick answer, just for today's purposes, would be that it shouldn't be necessary, that the redevelopment commission as its own entity has been budgeted, and your budget has been set, and as long as you operate within that budget, the way Indiana law would be set up is that you would be able to do that independent of review by Board of Works or City Council. But has been modified by this ordinance that kind of creates a step in between that.
I have a question for Tony. From memory, didn't this come about because you guys were going to build the convention center, and it was going to be millions of dollars, $50 million, and it became necessary that redevelopment has a stopgap, and that was the city, so that's why that ordinance. I'm just going from memory now.
Yeah.
It seems to me years and years ago that that's why that happened.
Well, redevelopment and City Council could work together then.
Yes, because it was a major project.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And you were president at the time.
Yeah.
So.
And what I would say to that, and again, I wasn't prepared to make a presentation like this tonight,
Right,
but I think it's a fair question. To your question, I think that would be an accurate reading. There is a natural stopgap or a natural check for that exists already, which is redevelopment commission only has a certain budget. If you were to ask to spend money beyond redevelopment budget, then you would have to go to City Council. So that already exists without this ordinance. So that check or balance is already there. That's another reason why I think the ordinance is not necessary and perhaps contrary to the law.
I have a question, Brian. Let's assume this proposal is approved. Will then we hold discussions with the LCD, or have discussions already been? Okay.
Well, I think, just like the comment before we got started, I mean, sometimes you just got to get in there and get started somewhere. And here we are.
Is it fair to ask Paul to come up to the podium? I don't want to put, okay.
Well, I have one more question before that happens.
If the chair recognizes Paul.
No, Paul, we're fine.
I have one more question.
We're fine.
I read in the
He's being thrown
proposal
under the bus.
that it was a 10-year project. My only request is,
10-year.
with the exception of Dell, most of us will be dead after 10 years. Is there any way we can speed that up?
Think for yourself. Obviously, you don't know Dell. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I think if I could just step back just a second. I think the premise here is, and we've had discussions, and we walk around town and we talk to different boards, and there really seems to be a consensus, at least in the crowds that I wander around in down here in downtown and throughout Lawrenceburg, is that that we should do something with the wet side of the levee, and that being a more park-like atmosphere, some opportunities for maybe some parking places, and redo the amphitheater, and pardon me?
Docks, but
docks that would accommodate more boats for dining and all those kinds of things that we can all imagine. And, and getting to this point, we believe that everybody's kind of nodding their head, including, I would say, the Conservancy District. I think we were going to go there last week, or to discuss it, but I think it's going to end up being this week, and we just didn't want to wait. And, we just believe there's enough people kind of going, yeah, this is probably something we ought to do. But at the same token, if we're going to agree to, to begin to spend money on the development, and the concept, we need to be checking ourselves and being prepared to understand how we're going to fund it and what that, we'll have a pretty good project cost when we're done, but you probably can take a guess at what it's going to cost now and realize that, once we start, we should be, committed to seeing this thing through. We can phase the implementation. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, and I think that would probably be a likely outcome, that we would, phase the most appropriate areas and the most bang for the buck kind of areas. Get the
we
entire
will see
concept.
something before we expire.
we better see if within 4 years is up.
I would, I think some, once we get rolling, and get everybody on board and get some, some major consensus and buy-in on where we're going, I think we can, maybe see some deconstruction maybe next year or something.
A couple years ago, when we first moved down there was a guy and a lady going around and taking pictures, had beautiful pictures of the riverfront, and they're gone. And you probably know who I was talking to. It's a couple out of New York City. Whatever happened to them? Who were they hired by? You remember what I'm talking about? They did a forum over here in Ivy Tech and showed.
Hyde Palmer.
Yeah, they did.
That's the group we got going now.
Oh, okay.
I've got a couple questions.
I knew you said you had a couple.
Look, this is not a new idea.
Absolutely not.
5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, we ran through 2 or 3 different organizations and got ideas about doing this. Why wasn't it started before then? I know you weren't here and I weren't here, but...
Well, that was kind of, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, but that's kind of was my own personal response to seeing the initial, one of those concept drawings. Gosh, this is really a cool idea, and it seems to make sense to me alone.
Did they get scared because it's in the floodplain?
No, it's built to be in the floodplain. Everything's going in.
We don't know what they're talking about yet, but it is going to be in the floodplain. We don't have a picture or anything, right?
Well, there were drawings done 5 years ago.
Oh, it goes back 10 years, and there's just been changes. Hollywood had a group headed up to help us with it. They've changed GMs how many times? So it's just timing.
Are we putting this project by ourselves?
At one time, Paul, we had Conservancy District on board, was going to help share in some costs and then develop it, and design. And again, you change administrations, you kind of change thought process of people, so it's just been time.
What about Hollywood? Has anybody approached Hollywood about getting on board with us?
They had a whole group that were in favor of it. That was probably 3 GMs ago.
But if you mention money, are they still aboard?
And again, I think those are discussions that Brian and the mayor have had here in the last probably 2 or 3 months.
Is that part of phase 1?
That's part of phase 1.
So that'll be addressed in phase 1.
That will be addressed in phase 1.
Hollywood's given us,
Presentation it was.
Hollywood's given us the building there for restrooms, aren't they? Or are we buying that from Hollywood? Or
There was a land consideration for a couple properties over there, and
I
we call
thought so.
Chicken Shack as one.
So, yeah, they are working with us a little bit.
I think Brian, Mr. Seymour brought up a fair point, History is a common threat in everything that we do. And I have witnessed some tenuous at best relationships between the LCD and this city in the past 2 or 3 years. And I am very cognizant of the fact that we have a new administration. So I already know that answer, but I'm asking that before my vote will come down in a favorable situation for $95,000 to $100,000, that we have some indication besides Mel saying that, I don't know where he got the information that it's a 10-year project, because I didn't read anything up here that was handed to us that there was a 10-year project.
It's in the proposal.
You have that?
Yeah.
Okay, I missed it.
Yeah.
I missed it. So all I'm saying is I'm not comfortable with $100,000 commitment till we know at least what their position is. And, Brian, it's not a matter of taking your word for it, it's, and you guys have sat in this room, and I've sat in this room.
That's your job to say what you want to say, man.
Well, I'm not comfortable with it, is what I'm saying.
Here's my position on this. Brian, you know, from day one, our first meetings, well, you weren't even there yet. You weren't even hired yet. This is what I wanted to do for Lawrenceburg. I want this park down there. I think it's be the greatest thing for Lawrenceburg.
You gonna go
But
down
I
there every
can't-
spring and clean it up?
We've got city workers doing that. It all floods out and goes out. I've seen that bottom since I was 5 years old. I'm not worried about that. The thing is I'm not going to put the authority in the hands of 3 people to spend maybe $12 million. I think this ought to go through, I think that, well, whatever, maybe 20 million. I don't put 20 million in the hands of 3 people. I think this agreement should be with the redevelopment board and not just with the Board of Works. So I can't vote for it unless, if it's just for the Board of Works. And this is a pet project I've wanted done for years. I want to do this.
Go ahead.
Only if he recognizes you.
Yeah, I think that the proposal, Tony, it states
We're in the meetings.
the makeup of the steering committee, and the redevelopment commission is on it.
Yeah, that's true. But the people sign the checks right there.
Yeah. Well,
That's what I don't like.
If we only commit 95, then that's all we committed.
They'll become redevelopment, they'll be getting the money out of redevelopment. They'll put the money in redevelopment.
Well, I think by the time that would happen, hopefully Mr. Weldon will have that amendment to that ordinance so that we don't have to go through that.
Ifs, ands, and buts, we all got them.
Can I ask a simple question, guys?
I'd like mine answered, too, when you get to it.
We've just spent $50-some million. Is it paid for? Or are we going deeper in debt? Nobody can answer that?
Mike, go ahead.
I didn't understand the whole question either.
We just spent $50-some million on a
54.
entertainment complex on High Street. Is it paid for?
No, it's not paid for. It won't be paid for years, Paul.
How many?
They have a loan for $20-some million to pay back to the city.
Still outstanding?
Sure.
But we're gonna add to this debt?
That's not, it don't have anything to do with the convention center. This doesn't.
Well, it does to the city of Lawrenceburg, because the city of Lawrenceburg got to pay for both projects.
True.
That's not really debt, that's actually income that casino is more than debt that owes us, $20 million.
If they don't give it back to us in 2 years.
And there's a whole list of cities in that, but, yeah, the sky's falling, what's the worst case scenario? I can't argue with you on that.
No.
Paul?
I wanted to address Dennis's comment about, if you're wanting to know if everybody's on board before you commit to, I'm gonna just say $100,000 for research. But I'm pretty sure it's like anything else. If you don't do your research and know what you want to do, how are you going to walk into the Conservancy District? Dennis, that's where I'm coming from. If I'm sitting on the board, when you come and ask me to participate, I at least want to know what you're doing. So you guys are going to have to, anytime you go into a 5 or a 10 or a $50 million project, you are going to have to be willing to at least come up with a good sales point to come to Hollywood or that, and hopefully
That's
in
fair.
order to reach your different phases,
That's
you're
fair.
gonna have people from the LCD, Hollywood, and other people participating, am I right?
Correct.
Okay.
And along with that, I mean, with the design in this group doing the research, they're gonna have everything from the core concerns to item concerns that they're gonna incorporate in this research.
Mario, Paul, I'm being very specific in my question. My question is, Brian made a presentation that offered 3 phases and a dollar figure given to each phase. And then he explained each phase. And in phase 1 was discovery, committees, and ideas and coming forward. At that point, that's a $10,000 commitment. Okay. If we approve a $95,000 commitment tonight, all I'm saying is let's approve it in sections or I mean, we're going to meet every month, okay? How long, you said it's going to take 4 to 5 months for phase 3, according to my notes here. So I'm saying is let's do phase 1 and see how the committee meets and, I'm sorry, Mario.
Well, no, go ahead.
I'm just trying to get an answer to my question of, Tony's 100% online. I'm 100% online with getting the riverfront developed. That's a big thing for me. I'd love to see that happen for the city. I think it has great value for the city. All I'm trying to say is I'd like to know more before we make a financial commitment as to the LCD issue, because I'll repeat myself a little bit. I saw how the LCD's attitude and the city's attitude when the two mixed, and it wasn't good. I have seen nothing in any meeting since this new administration has taken over that's given me an indication that that's been healed somewhat, unless I've missed a meeting that's happened. So I'm asking from an intelligent standpoint that before we venture into this beyond maybe $10,000 or $20,000, and Paul, I agree with you. You're going to have to do a little bit of research to find out if it's worth taking it to them, so you know what you're talking about when you take it to them. I got that. I agree with you. You're right, on target, as you usually are. But I don't think we have to spend $95,000 to find that out. That's all I'm saying.
Well, the commitment would be for the 95,000. I think Brian discussed this in 3 phases, first being the 10,000. What they're going to do is take all that information gathered, come up with a model or a design or a concept, come back and update you. Now, from that next phase 2, you can say, we're happy with it, let's move on to phase 2. This is a group that, correct me, you do the appropriations, you still have control of that $95,000.
Brian, are you comfortable with that scenario? Yes. Then I'm fine.
Mike?
I just want to make sure everyone understands, there's been numerous studies in 34 years, I know for a fact, under development, every single year. We're finally following a plan. The Hyatt Palma study was in town 2 or 3 years ago. We are following that. This is in accordance with that. One thing I know Brian and myself have, we get one shot at developing a river. And in doing so, I definitely encourage that we follow the plan and we get a very detailed master plan so we can get all the components. What Paul said, I agree with him. We need to be able to come up with a plan and include them in the process, but take to the other entities if you're going to look for. Dennis, to answer one question.
It's part of phase 1. That's what we addressed.
One component of the riverfront development, which Works is already approved and we're already working on, is a connector trail from the Lawrenceburg Trail to the Greendale Trail. I'm actually already on the agenda, the Conservancy's upcoming meeting, week from Thursday. So there, there's been discussions, things have improved behind the scenes, whether that gives you any comfort level or not, but we're going in a direction where we weren't before. But at the same token, on this, I don't know if it's gonna be a 10 million or a $50 million project. That's something that nobody hears.
But I didn't ask that question.
But a plan, we have, before we can do anything, we have to have a rock-solid plan to get the Conservancy to buy into, to get new players from Hollywood, and also look at different funding sources and grant sources.
Mike, I didn't ask for the details of how much money it's going to cost, because I know you don't know now. Nobody knows exactly. So that's why there's phases put in. What I'm talking about is an expenditure that I'm comfortable with voting on here tonight, so you can go forward. And I am comfortable with phase one, possibly phase two at the same time, if you need that to go forward before the next meeting. But that's where I'm coming from. I'm 100% on in making it happen and getting it done. We need to become a destination for not only our community, but for customers of the casino, so they do well, so we all do well, because they generate revenue for us. This is not a hard thing to figure out, but I get what you're saying, but I don't require the explanation for my question. But I think Tony asked a good question about Board of Works earlier, and I think it was a fair question, because we're all sitting on this board and we know what the steps are going to be down the line. I'm not saying we need the answer right now, but it's a fair question. So
here's my question. If we pass this 95,000 tonight, and this is with the Board of Works, is this just for the study? Once the work starts, who are they going to be coming to for the yes and no's on paying the bills? Us?
Well, we don't have the money at this point. I think when
Board of Works don't have the money now, but they're coming.
No, but what I'm saying is when you get to phase 3 and you have your concept plan, and you would have a projected cost. And at that point, you would, begin to develop, what portion are we responsible for? What portion are other entities going to contribute? Can we get corporate sponsors to help build the amphitheater? What are all the funding opportunities? Can we get, some of the community grants for maybe playground equipment along the walkway? I mean, once you get that concept and you have a concept cost, and then you can break that into elements and then start figuring out where the money's going to come from. Okay. I mean, I think in principle, to go forward, I think everybody has to know that it's going to cost,
Let's go. I mean, I understand
$10 million or more,
but I also understand that every time these guys drive down from Indianapolis, it's going to cost us a fortune. So I understand they're asking for 95,000. Because it may end up being 65. No, it will be 95 on it, because exactly what they said.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Not to exceed 95.
Not to exceed 95. Right. Yeah. So it's going to cost us at least that much. But what I want to know is, once we sign this, does this run through the whole project?
You mean the individual hourly wages?
No, everything. Does it run through the whole project, or do they come to Redevelopment Board, or do they go to the Board of Works for anything? That's what I want to know. Is this just for the study, or is this for the whole project?
That's just for the concept drawings, to come in here and say, this is the riverfront master plan that you and your community have developed with the estimated cost, estimated phasing plan, and from that point forward, we would have to fund it.
So, for 95,000, this is for the study, period. I'm going to hold you to this, on your answer to this.
In the contract, that number's not going to stay there, but.
The 95,000 will for the study.
No, they get paid if they go to the bathroom.
Well, I don't care, as long as it's just for the study.
Yeah, but it can't exceed 95,000.
They do got control how many times they go to the bathroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
They'll be all red-faced.
Well, to be fair, and I agree, and I did read, and I was careful about the reimbursables. The one that does stick out and is mileage and per diem expenses for out-of-town travel. Well, we just need to be, we need to make sure that when we get them down here, we get them down here,
and send them back home.
We send them back home.
Do we get a
still not
copy
answering my question.
Okay.
of any bills that they're going to,
Yes.
That'll
Yes.
all be open to us?
Yes.
Because that's gonna be extra, over and above the 95,000.
No,
No,
Am I looking at that wrong?
it's figured in not to exceed.
that's, the total is 95,000.
All right,
If they go to the bathroom for 4 years, they can only charge us $95,000.
all right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we're going to allocate. Now, what's your question again, so
My
you can...
question is this, doing this 95,000 now, is it just for the study? Once the work starts, who do they come to then? Us or the Board of Works?
Well, they
Who's
have-
got the say in it? Wait a minute, well,
I would believe they would,
Yeah.
yeah, it would depend on, I mean, at some point, if it's going to be us, then somebody would have to fund us, give us the money. You know, I mean, if it's you know, because we don't have that much money.
I can't vote for it until I find out who in the world's giving it.
And that's okay. I mean, I don't care. I mean, like I said earlier, sometimes you
Oh, I know.
sometimes you just
You
got to
do
get
care.
started. Well, I do, but I mean,
I would love to do this.
we're getting started, and that's all we got to do tonight. If we want to take some more time and
I can't
review it,
handle the whole
That's
project
fine.
to 3 people, though.
maybe I don't understand your question, but
Well, to go back to explain, I think Brian's saying that $10,000, Tony, you're gonna get all your thoughts, all your information gathered in one room. This group's gonna take it, compile it, come back and tell you what direction they think you're going in.
Yeah, I understand all
That's
that.
phase one. So you're only gonna pay 10,000, correct, for that point?
that's correct.
This board does the appropriation, so you can say, let's move to phase two, correct?
Right. I've got no problem with all 3 phases. Do it, move on. But I want to know what happens after that. Who's this contract going to be
Okay.
signed with for any work?
Council.
Is it going to be signed redevelopment? Dale, maybe she
Well,
answers.
shop, at the end of the day, you're gonna go shop that. You're gonna
Gonna
have,
depend on who is the funding source. If redevelopment comes up with the money it's gonna fund it, it's gonna be used. If it's another entity, it would go to them. That is completely yet to be determined.
you'll have interlocals
I
probably
know.
with Conservancy or Hollywood that's gonna help fund the project.
Okay, now Dale, you might understand now why that thing was done the way it was before. Redevelopment looked at it, and it went to city council, who the people voted on, and approved it also. Instead of 3 people that the city did not vote on, only voted on 1, can approve everything. That's what I don't think is right.
Well, they didn't approve the
Shouldn't mess
contract,
with
right?
that.
Well, here's, once you get into once you get into the construction phase, you have to have contracts in place, you have to have bidding procedures in place, and whoever's paying for it, whether it's this group or some other group, they have to decide whether they want to go through with it, and if it's, maybe it's too high.
I
Maybe-
understand all that, man.
Yeah, well,
It's
then
just- I
we
wanna
can
know
stop it.
Who the group is.
Then we can stop it. Period.
We can't. Not if
We
it's
as a
signed,
council can.
not if it's signed with the Board of Works. The only way you can stop it by council is if you don't put the money in there for it. That's the only option council would have.
Well, that's.
And we don't want to do that. We're not here to fight. We're here to get things
We're
moving
not here to
forward.
fight, but I guess I'm, go ahead, Paul.
Here's the disappointing part for me in all this is that, we got a good project, we got a new group of people on everything, new mayor. And Tony, I understand because of what you witnessed the last, how many ever years you witnessed it. But I was just hoping that we could float through the next 4 years and all have a smile on our faces.
We're smiling now.
Me and you were gonna talk about walking on a levee looking at this thing. So I'm sitting on Board of Works, I'm on council, and I'm hoping we got about 20 people involved in this. So I would like you to kind of loosen up a little bit and trust people. That's all I'm saying.
I'm smiling now.
I think, like Paul said, that if we don't approve it, it stops,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. And I'm gonna say something, and I'm speaking from experience. If we don't create some excitement for our downtown, then the businesses that are down here, whatever they are, can't survive on one weekend a month when the casino has an event. We have to create some excitement. Now, this proposal will create some excitement and get some people down looking around. We have this wonderful asset down there, and it's called the Ohio River. And we need to utilize that. If you look up and down the river, and I have, there are towns up the river, much poorer than we are, that have supported a development. There's another town that's getting ready to support a development, and they don't have two nickels to rub together to pay their police department. But they're going to support a development on their waterfront because that's the only asset that they have. I think if we don't take advantage of this and don't get this study forwarded, I think we're making a huge mistake. And we'll look back, if we're alive 10 years from now, and say, well, we really screwed up. That's my opinion.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your comments, but I'm not voting for this one way or the other for the businesses that are downtown. I'm doing it for the downtown in general. I want the entire place to become a destination.
Absolutely.
Having said that, I have to tell you that I can only personally vote tonight to vote for this in segments. I'm willing to be flexible on the segments, however, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I'm going to go to the next LCD meeting, I'm going to stand in as it's my right to do so, and I'm going to ask them how they feel about working with us on this project, because this is not a secret. It's out there now. We're in a public forum. I'm going to ask them how they feel. And if I get a good indication from them, I'm 100% in. I'm all in. But based on what I have seen in the past, I would like to at least do a little bit of due diligence here. As a member of this committee, I feel I owe it to the town and I owe it to myself to take the extra time. But I don't want to hold up the project. I'm willing to vote on it tonight in segments. And I think that's a reasonable idea.
Well, I think, Mr. Chairman, I think if the LCD's not on board with it, we won't go very far with it anyway. They're not going to get their 95,000. This is the full time. I'm going to go ahead and vote for it. And I agree with you, Mel. I agree with you too, Dennis. But this is very important for Lawrenceburg, for everybody, for the people, for the businesses, for everything. But it's going to stop at 95,000 on waterworks. When it goes to work being done, it should be done between redevelopment, looking at with city council, same way we did this convention center, recommendations sent to city council, one that all the people voted on. And that's where it should be done. That's where the agreement should be. That's who should decide what goes down there. But I'm not going to stop it from happening. I will not do that. So I will vote yes for this tonight, guys.
Brian, instead of approving 95,000, can we approve 3 segments and pay those in 3 segments?
I think I'd have to default to the chair. You got a motion on the floor, I believe.
Sounds like we have a motion from Mr. Abbott.
Well, we didn't have a motion, but I'll make the motion. But
I'll entertain a motion to approve the agreement.
In 3 phases, or?
Whichever way the motion is.
no, I make the motion to sign the agreement for the 95,000. It's what we have to do. Part of this agreement is meeting with the LCD guys. Don't let the LCD hold us out from this. It's too important. And I think the LCD, from the new members they have on board, that's only one reason why I'm voting for it too, is they're going to work with us. Is that right or not right, Satch? I mean, it's a lot more flexible board than it was last year. So don't let the LCD scare you. There's some good guys on there.
I'm not scared of anybody.
Well, I don't mean that, but don't let them scare you.
I'm not afraid of the LCD.
Don't let them scare you that they're going to make a bad decision, because I don't think they're going to work with us.
Tell me what the difference is if we give them $95,000 up front, or if we give them 10,000.
The difference is the contract, Paul. This is the
They
contract.
can change the contract. They keep saying lump sum.
Mr. Greenway, as I read the contract, it is lump sum at the end of each phase. Phase 1.
Result of the lump sum amount of 95,000.
In the following.
And then it also says, people,
For the
plus reimbursable expenses as described in Exhibit A.
Right. And if I may, I'll clarify. in that line, it says per the distribution below, which is the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So the contract, to me, indicates, and we can pull this up, indicates that it's payable after phase 1 and after phase 2 and after phase 3. So it is naturally broken into 3 segments. I would contend that the things listed as reimbursable expenses, the only thing that's not really what I would call an expense that is part of what we're doing anyway would be, mileage and the per diem expenses for out-of-town travel, which, if we're good stewards of the money and manage their time appropriately, would be very minimal and be within that $10,000 in the first place.
We have a motion on the floor.
I second that.
Thank you, Bob.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
2 ayes.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Roll call.
Yes.
Member Bob Rybolt.
Here.
No.
Yes,
Yea or
ma'am.
nay?
I mean, yay.
Tony Abbott.
Yay.
Paul Seymour Senior.
Nay.
Dennis Hutchins.
No.
Then no.
We have a locked vote, and I will vote to proceed.
Yea or nay?
That's it. All right.
I've lost my agenda. Here we go. That's right. West Eads Parkway, before you leave,
We
Brian.
asked some questions, didn't we?
Brian, before you leave, West Eads Parkway.
And stay up there too, because I'm gonna have another question for you. Okay.
Yeah.
West East Parkway is also known as 3rd and Walnut. This is the A1 Auto Body. We have been approached by the property owner who is interested in selling that property. We've made him aware of the process that we would have to go through in order to make an offer on that property. The property is at the corner of Walnut and US 50. So the value for us is that it's in the immediate gateway off US 50 into downtown Lawrenceburg. With that being said, what I would be asking tonight, with your approval, is to go out and get appraisal. If you see this as a valuable property to our inventory and or gateway, to go ahead and begin the procedure by obtaining appraisals.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I don't have any problem with it, personally. I mean, you don't have any plans or any deals for it other than a gateway at this point? I'm not asking for a commitment.
Yeah, I mean, just, whatever we can do to enhance the entryway off of US 50 down
Could
Walnut.
actually even widen it, or? No, because we have the underground tunnels.
I think it's more of a signage, green space. I mean, those are the things that are floating around right now. Pardon me?
Yeah,
Like what you've got across 50.
Yeah, it would be the fourth corner of kind of the display that's down there, so.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Mike?
This is just repeating ancient history, but some of the past administrations, which goes back more than one, have historically looked at that property, I'm not saying it's your intention, but to make a gateway or aesthetic improvement, but possibly more importantly, for a marketing location for downtown signage, community bulletin board for gone back probably at least 3 administrations where they have looked at this and just everything come together.
Mr. Chairman, with...
Yes, sir.
With the previous conversation, the last 45 minutes, I think it'd be foolish not to look at an opportunity to have a piece of property that could enhance the potential riverfront property as well as our convention facility and the downtown businesses. So I think it could possibly be a win-win. We'll see what they want. You don't have any idea what they want, though, do you?
My opinion is we wait and get appraisals and know exactly where we're at.
All right.
Any other comments? I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
To approve or
To approve.
second? Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Am I done?
To get the appraisal.
Am I done?
Nope.
So,
Did you have another question?
Yeah, but don't leave until later.
No, I really did enjoy this. I had fun, and I think that all the comments are worthy, no question. But we have to get started, and we got started.
wait, before you do leave, Brian, under old business, 518 Main Street, and then we'll get to Dell.
What?
Yeah, that was, help me.
Is that the
I don't have my notes.
surveyors?
No,
that the three
that
buildings?
was, Hope, over on
Oh.
Main Street. It was,
It's the two houses.
the two houses.
Yeah.
And we were approached by the family that they were interested in selling, and this is down the street toward 50 from the Hall properties that we discussed a few weeks ago. I don't, so I had given you that in last month's packet to kind of for you to get a flavor or a feel for how you felt about that. Most of the conversations I've had, it's been that, kind of with everything else that we've got going on in the wheelhouse and, just the A1 and riverfront, and that probably may not be right in our wheelhouse at this point in time. But it's good to know that it's there. So
I agree.
So it's up to you to decide if you want to proceed.
Any questions?
No, not on that.
I'll entertain a motion.
There shouldn't be no motion.
Dennis?
We're not doing nothing.
We're just taking
No motion, we're not doing anything with it.
We'll entertain a motion not to do anything.
We'll just set mute on it.
Just like make motions.
I think we should take the director's recommendation that we not move on it at this time, but to keep it as a possibility of an opening if they want to proceed later. That would be my motion.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thanks, Brian.
Wait a minute, while he's up there, can I bring up something under old business?
Sure.
Before we get there? All right, Brian. Back in September, wait a minute, I'm sorry, back in August, we paid $5,700 to One West High Street business for a line tap. There's no business going on there for now. Was that refundable if they didn't open the door to their businesses or to their business or what? Or what's going on with that property? Do you have any idea? Or can you look into it?
I'd be happy to look into it. There's no,
It's the restaurant. Yeah. The steakhouse, this is that steakhouse that was going on in the corner, but we made the grant.
Well, why don't you just let me look into it? I mean, that way we won't speculate and,
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah, do you know anything?
I don't know anything about it.
opening? Or is it?
Again, anything would be speculation. I'll just
I
let it go.
talked to one of the owner-operators of that building. Their plans are to open mid-June. Now, I hope they can make that, but that's their plans.
I haven't seen anybody nowhere.
The owner of the building is sitting right back there. Maybe he knows something.
Who's that? Well, that don't sound good for opening in June.
That's ridiculous.
That's why I said I don't know, and I won't speculate, but I'd be happy to look into it.
June or last June?
Originally, it was July 11th last year.
Okay, while he's in the audience, can I ask him this? Who was that grant to? And was it to the owner of the building or the owner of the business?
It was not to the owner of the building, I can tell you that.
It got paid to the contractor for that business.
I know, yeah, well, I'm gonna say, but it was made to the business, I guess. Yeah, it's the business, the owner's out of it now.
Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Since Mr. Abbott brought it up, perhaps, Brian, you could ask the contact that Mr. Davis has to come and make a presentation to us.
That'd be nice.
Since we did redevelopment, spent money on the property, if they're willing to do it, it's not mandated, of course, but maybe they would like to make a presentation on their June plans.
You help me out here, Kelly? I don't mind doing anything that makes sense and that you guys ask me to do. I mean, I will wade into it. I mean, I'll kind of see how it feels. Yeah, I mean, if it gets rough, I'll call one of you and let you know how it feels.
Abbott's Steakhouse.
Yeah.
You know, I work Saturdays and Sundays too.
Yeah, so, you know. I mean, I don't mind. I don't know at what point I'm intruding on, you know, some private business.
No,
At some point, we have some money in it. I get that part, but just, I'll know.
The owner doesn't have a clue, that's kind of a problem.
I'd hate to say something like that about the owner.
No, I didn't mean it like that, I'm just saying that. Yeah, I know, that's the one thing about it.
Any other questions?
No. I got another thing to bring up, but we'll go ahead with Dale first.
Oh, my.
So you're finished?
Well, I'm done.
finished.
He can wipe the tire tracks off his face
No, it's
now.
all good.
Old business, Del Weldon, Durbin Plaza, update.
We are, thank you, Mr. Chairman, we are on track, on schedule. The original anticipated completion date of the demo was early to mid-April. We're pretty close to that. I think we're about 3 weeks off. I think we're scheduled to be completed with the demolition phase in about 3 weeks. We're entering into the kind of core part of that demolition and core in terms of our tracking. We are tracking for any potential environmental issues, kind of unexpected environmental issues, and that's why we have the second half of that money in escrow. We paid them $525 already. I think this was brought up before. We have $400 still in escrow in case there are any environmental issues that they have agreed to pay for, and they have agreed to pay for that. If we get through in the next 3 weeks, all of the demo, including the concrete demo, which is, again, the portion that's most likely to uncover any unforeseen environmental issues, then we will close out that phase. We'll seek to have the city, our folks here at the city, sign off with that, along with ATC to sign off on the fact that it's been made essentially shovel-ready with no environmental issues. That will then allow us to have a closing and transfer ownership. And so we're on track with all of that. If anyone has any questions?
Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the escrow account, Del.
Yes, sir.
Is it still with Voto, or has it been transferred to your?
It's with Votal. I decided to leave it with them.
Okay.
I think that was.
So that was a conscious decision to make?
Yes, and I talked to them about
That's
it.
fine.
They already had it, so I just left it there.
It's fine.
And votes and attorney escrow accounts are protected by the
No, I
state.
understand.
And yeah,
Just want to know where the money was.
No, that's a good, fair question.
Sir, do you have a question? Okay, just resting your arm?
Old fireman trick.
I was going to bring that up. Now, Paul, if that's what I think you're going to do. Dale, you done with that then?
Yes, sir.
On St. Clair Street, we did a subdivision plat. Is that the 4 lots we did, Mike? Okay. Probably won't talk about, but we got one of the lots runs through the driveway of the neighbor next door. So, it may not belong to them, I know, I understand that, but can we redo them lots? We made them 40-foot wide, that's 7 foot wider than a normal lot in Lawrenceburg. Yeah, figure out what the best thing is to.
Whatever we're directed to do on that.
Would it cost us $4,200 again to have the surveyor?
Not that much. It would be, there's everything in, replat the whole thing, it would probably be close to that. If you want to take just add a little bit of additional off of one lot, then you guys just have to.
If we took 7 foot off that last lot next to her driveway, is that enough for her and made it a 33-foot wide lot?
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
You got 100, and I can tell you something, she was talked to before, and there ain't nothing worse than a mad neighbor when you're trying to sell a house and you got money borrowed on it. So my request, but it's just a request, and she was guided a little bit, I believe. She thought that she was going to get some more property. There's a few innocent things that went on here. I believe one of them was that the double wide she lives in is probably sitting in the wrong spot, the way everything's looking. But I think she was thinking that she was going to end up getting that driveway. Now, from the driveway to the first property line, you have 151 lineal feet. Right now, we've got 4 lots, and they're 40 feet apiece. If you were to divide that out, with her having that driveway, I think she would be very happy. And the other 4 lots would each be 37 feet 8 inches. Now, you're only losing 2 feet 4 inches off a lot. So I see as you have 3 choices here. I think you can leave it the way it is. I wouldn't be afraid. Hopefully there's other people. You could build on the 3 lots, but I would be cautious. I will not buy the 4th lot. Somebody might, I won't. Because it's going to put a house really close to hers, and I know it's going to cause some hard feelings. I live right behind her. I'm going to be selling houses to people. I want the community happy. Now, I personally think that's a little bit of a waste because we're not collecting taxes, we're not paying a utility bill on that 4th lot. You've also got another choice. You can divide that up into 3 lots, 3 houses, make them a little bigger if you guys want bigger lots, but personally, I don't think the people buying houses from them really care whether they got a 40-foot lot or a 37-foot 8-inch lot. And I think it would make her happy. Now, I do know this would be a cost, and I know it would be a time issue.
Can I ask you on that, before you get off that subject, on the 20-some that you built over in the circle, in the corner, did you have any flack with people having smaller lots, or and wasn't a problem?
No,
So you're basing it on part of that, too? You don't think it'll be a problem?
I don't.
Just stay with 4 lots instead of going into...
People come downtown, they want to live here, they're buying a house, or renting. They're renting for $800, $900 a month. They're just glad to be able to buy help with a house with you guys' help.
How long has she been there? The lady in the trailer?
Well, she's 3 years.
3 years?
3 years. 2.5, 3 years. She's a good lady, you know. She's a neighbor. And I don't think you're giving up anything. Mike's got something.
Mike?
One thing, if you do choose to replat the whole thing, I'm going to throw him under the bus, but our surveyor is here in attendance. You address, what would it cost to do a replat, replatted subdivision? Stay here?
No, please come
Oh,
on.
you gotta come up, buddy.
That may help them come up with a direction.
Okay, I recognize that.
Yeah, that's the driveway.
Okay, sure.
And I measured from this point to there. That's 141, but the third is there on that.
Sit down. We're not done with you.
Right, it's a matter of producing a new plat. We've resolved the boundary. It's a big part of any survey. So we have a legal description in place that would have to be modified. So just to spit out a new plat for you with the dimensions that we all agree on would couple days and pretty minimal cost. We have to go out and reset all the pins. So it would be half that much or less, I would say. You want me to come up with a specific amount?
I'll stick, half of that's fine, that's, half of 4,280 is 2,140?
Plus it gives us a fourth house and it makes a neighbor happy.
Yeah, happy neighbor, and
That sounds like.
we still
a
get
good
4
plan,
lots.
really.
So I could sit there in a day and produce a new plat, but I have to go out in the field and.
No, but I'm saying, I think we have a pretty good idea here.
So, but.
We get 4 houses, we got a happy woman, and it cost us half to redo it,
Yeah.
or less, you said, possibly.
Happy woman.
I didn't know there was such a thing myself, but.
Everything except for Mario's wife.
Mics are on, guys.
By the way, it's your own fault for coming to the meeting.
That'll hit Facebook, won't it?
Any other questions?
I got one other statement.
Wait a second, may I, Paul, may I jump in?
You haven't said enough yet?
Please tell us what to do.
Do I need
Okay,
to?
we need a
we're getting
motion.
there.
Oh, we will.
Okay.
We'll get in there.
Yeah, I got one other thing I want to bring up. It's just something to think about. I know we talked about it quite a while back. I've been in the process of talking to a fellow, Kurt Rafferty, about the property over on Cook Lane and getting ready to, there was some deed things on the deeds. We've been clearing things up and talking to him quite a bit, but I think everything's getting straightened out and we're about ready to take possession of the property, either sometime this week or next week. My question is have we ever had, has anybody in here ever had any more discussions on utilities on lots? Because that's a big question I got. Before I take this property, I've got the way these houses are going to be designed. I think Mike Mario backed me up on this. I mean, we're probably going to be doing redoing that whole sidewalk and curb in front of them properties. I'm going to be responsible for that. I've done it in the past, but when you take a sidewalk out and then put an apron in, because I expect all these homes with that 60-foot wide lot, I'm going to have a driveway to the side and I'm going to be pulling off the street, unlike the ones in the past, we'll be putting them in the alley. All I'm doing here tonight is trying to, Brian, you
I have the same, I need the same answer.
we need to push it, because here's the thing. The one thing I found out is when I get a piece of property, it lets me cut grass and pay taxes. And I would, if it isn't done right, I don't want to take the property.
How many lots is it, Paul?
Say again?
Lots is it? Are you going to be able to make out of it? How many lots?
There's three houses there.
You're going to
Yeah.
put 3 houses?
Three is in that area. And I think there's probably 2 of those lots for sure that have the utilities on, but I think there's one that's in question.
You're probably gonna lose the one at the alleyway.
I think there's one in question. So I don't believe we're looking at putting sewer and water on all 3 of them. I think we're probably, and Andy might investigate, but you might already have that answer. I think there's only one that need it. But
I've looked at 800 sewers since I looked at it.
I know, and that's why he probably can't get the answer tonight.
From the one to the south, would it come in off the alleyway, the drive, off the new alley?
Well, it could, but here, even bigger than this, just this Cook property, I think that it needs to be put a policy in place, because, I mentioned it to Owen and Kelly. I just would like for it to be a decision made, because it's also a sticking point of trying to get somebody else to build a house. right now, you could have seven possible things going on here. And guys, I don't need to build all 7 of them houses. If somebody else can come to town, but that kind of little thing, if you have these agreements in place, whether you're gonna do them or not, at least I wanna know.
What are you asking for exactly? You asking for us to pay for the sewer taps?
No, I've always paid sewer
Okay.
taps and water taps. I think it's 14, somewhere in the area.
$1,300.
Somewhere in the area of that. So I've always paid them on every house. But the thing is, I would just like the water and sewer on each piece of property to have the tap there. I don't want to go out into the street 9 feet deep or 12 feet deep or 3 feet deep. I just don't want to do it. You know, when you go to patching a street, you're looking at getting an asphalt guy there, and I just feel like I would like for the city to bring everything to the lot.
Okay, well, let me just back up a minute before we get, when we sold that property to Rafferty, wasn't that part of the agreement for him to build 3 houses there?
Yeah.
So that would have been on him to do this work, right or wrong?
But I think what Paul's saying.
But now you're buying the property to
I ain't
build.
gonna buy it. You know, if you guys want him to put the utilities on, then I'll call him tomorrow and let him know I'll take the property when he puts the utilities on it.
Was that or was that not part?
Any contractor, he wants a policy in place.
Okay, but was that not part of the contract with Mr. Rafferty when we sold him the property to build the dollar store?
I don't know if it's spelled out, he had to put the utilities.
He had to build 3 houses.
Correct.
But now he's not gonna build 3 houses.
He's not in that business, Tony. He came in.
Why did he say he's gonna build 3 houses?
Well, you know what, that was, in all fairness to him, he's in the same business I used to be in. If I would've went to North Carolina and built a Bob Evans and somebody told me I had to build 6 houses, it wouldn't have been right.
I think he said he was gonna put 3 houses on his properties per the agreement.
He was told that the deal wasn't gonna go through unless he took all that property and built those houses. He wasn't asked, he was told.
So how much does it cost us to run the water taps and sewer taps for it? Andy, can you give me
Property should have utilities to at least 2 sites. The third would be question.
And then I'm talking St. Clair Street too. I don't wanna narrow this to Mr. Rafferty's property
We'll
right
get to
now.
that, we'll make a motion there, just a second.
This
I don't
needs
know-
to be throughout the whole town.
I don't know if we should do that though, Paul. If it's
You
not
don't
the
have
person
to.
building the house should say, hey, I know what's gonna cost me. You know, I gotta run a sewer line out the street and I gotta pay somebody to do that. I don't know if we, as a city, should.
You know what, and that's exactly why I stepped up to the podium tonight, because if you guys wanna vote that way, that's what I wanna hear.
No,
That's up to you guys.
It's not something that I even wanna vote that way or not. I'd like to kinda think about it a little bit.
And I didn't expect an answer because I think it deserves a thought process, and we got, you know, a little time here. I mean, I think it should be talked between everybody. But it hasn't been talked about, and if you remember right, I started asking in September, October of last year so I could get a house going, and hell, it's been nice for 2 months.
Well, I know it's gonna cost us to do it, the redevelopment board, because I know the utility board won't do it.
Well, that's all I got.
He'll send us the
Okay.
bill.
We need a motion for the, either up or down, for the replating of the property on St. Clair Street.
I'll make the motion to make the, lots 37 foot 8 inches wide.
You
Have a-
want the property line to be right on the south edge of the existing concrete driveway. Is that correct? Then we split everything up.
Should I abstain or do?
Well, that's I don't know if it's I think we should table both of these so I can take a look at potential problems. I mean, it sounds like this is property that you own.
No, he don't
that
own
you're
it.
developing.
No, he doesn't own it. Anybody can buy it.
But I don't wanna own it if there's certain circumstances.
For the St. Clair property or the Rafferty property?
Right. Any of it.
This is just
He
St.
doesn't own any of this property now.
This is just St. Clair. to
Yeah, we're back
replat
to
it,
St. Clair.
So we can put it up for sale.
I mean, stuff that's not on the agenda, not in the packets, I'd rather not. I mean, these are two new issues that were just replatting, what we just replatted was not on the agenda for today, and.
Well, it was on the agenda to pay the claim for it, that's why I brought it up.
No, but I'd like to take a look at it.
Sold bid.
Well, there could be a conflict, I don't know if there is or not, but I'd like to look at it and figure out if there is one. I think that's best for everybody.
So what do you do after you're gonna have to advertise for her, the property?
I think that's why we need to talk, there are a lot of dimensions to both of these.
You're worried
I'm thinking about,
Mr. Seymour buying the property, is that,
that's one issue, potential issue.
does that dollar amount hold out till next month?
I'll be happy to put my input in as long as, okay, here's where it is. We're doing it one more time.
I have a comment, Mr. Chairman. Again, I've said this in the past, in the last few months, but,
Go ahead.
you know, the weather's, Paul made a comment about the weather, it's, you know, does anybody, is there any way you can come up with you guys are sitting over there, you've done this 1,000 times. Can you come up with an estimation of what it should be? I think it's tough on a homeowner to find out they gotta pay $5,000, $6,000 later because they didn't know what was going into it. He wants to know the cost up front and if we're willing to do anything. Tony doesn't act like he's willing to do anything right now, but I think redevelopment can help people out in some situations.
Dennis, this is the replatting of St. Clair.
Oh, we're still on that?
Yes.
Oh, my apologies.
Yeah, that's all right.
Oh, my apologies. Go ahead.
What was that about, Tony? I didn't hear all that.
No, take it all back, Tony. You're a good guy. You're a great 10 minutes.
All right, I'd like to make a motion, one more time. Is that all right, Dale? Did we decide that?
I guess I don't understand.
Thank you, no.
It's because the lady's driveway is on our property, so we're trying. Now, we actually have to do 5 lots, don't we? We can't just give her that property. That was the other things we talked about.
Just asked
It's not gonna be a lot of record on.
But can we put it up for sale?
Blondell is looking
Is okay.
You read in Indian statute that property was valued less than assessed. You don't recall that. I mean, tomorrow, we should give me that.
Okay, well, just for now, I'm just gonna make the motion for the 4 lots to get us going. And then we'll toss up the other.
What was your motion?
Make the motion to take the 4 lots we have at 40 foot wide and replat them to be 37 foot 8 inches wide, right?
Well, whatever it ends up being.
Or whatever it ends up being.
It may not be exactly.
But 4 lots.
Okay. Have a motion, second, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next order of business is approval of the claims once properly certified. I'm going to add to that, I'll accept a motion that the claims, once they are properly certified, the certification should include the readjustment of 2 of the claims that came into question this evening.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded? All in favor?
Aye.
Any comments from the board?
On this issue or in general?
In general?
I would like to, not tonight, it's been a long evening, but I would like for us to start looking at the possibility of coming up with some sort of a plan or a guideline to help builders know what their costs are going to be, what the city's, our involvement or the city's involvement, we can't speak for the city, but we can speak for redevelopment, on what it's going to cost them to get it done to have water and sewer. And in some cases, gas that's a different issue. But it's not a city utility. But I think we need some kind of a guideline for builders. I know I went through this recently, and it wasn't that bad for me, but I could see where if there's no services there, it's huge. And I remember in the alley behind my place, it was over $4,000 or $5,000 to go down in the sewer because it was so far down, right? In the back alley behind the Jones's house. So, it's hard when your house is built and you find out these things. So I think we should have some sort of a working plan that we could start coming up with something for builders to talk to them, so we don't go through this every single time it comes up. That's all.
I agree.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay. Comments from the audience?
Every citizen's got to do it.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Opposed? Opposed?
If I gotta go out to my
Meeting
sewer,
adjourned.
I gotta pay $5,000. So if you do it for one person, you can't do it for all. We're already giving a break on the property and everything else. Everything to redevelopment, but that's, what about the citizen?
We gotta straighten that out, should we?
Every piece of property, talk about these
Okay.
these taps, we own,
Change the
okay, because we own every property Seymour's gonna buy. So what if my sewer breaks, I gotta pay $5,000 to have that redone out there? Okay. Are they gonna pay me or anybody?
Because you made the motion, we made the motion.
Okay, that's what I think. I think we give him enough. I mean, he got, like he said, he cost him $5,000, but he got the said we've had over $1,000 and we got it for $860.
But Owen's gonna wanna make it.
Making the decisions, and the money's already coming out.
Change it from the way it was, because that's why we changed
I
it.
do too. I was just supposed to see it.
Development looked at it, they've made decisions, and they sent everybody back recommendations. Did you expect this for everybody? That's the way I want it. That's because, elected. It's back with you guys. You make the decision. Instead of having three people, that's well, property contract, I understand that, but that's a big. That's not the whole other $20 million project. Well, this, what we voted on tonight is going to have to market. But it's a great discussion. Don't get me wrong, I like Kelly, but Kelly likes to run things the way he likes to run them.
That's why you set it up.
This is just the investigation step, which is the you still got money from us, and when they show me how to do it in their budget, I'll be glad to give it. But I want to see it. Not something they just made up and send over to us like they did.
You know what, I'll talk to
You've never seen me when I'm talking to me and Boogie put mine in.
I have to swing by there, Joe, but if you tell us you're talking about